You know, whenever you're exposed to advertising in this country, you realize all over again that America's leading industry is still the manufacture, distribution, packaging, and marketing of bullshit. High-quality bullshit, world-class designer bullshit, to be sure. Hospital-tested, clinically proven bullshit, but bullshit nonetheless. And it always amuses me that so many people seem to think that bullshit only comes from certain sources. You know, advertising, politicians, salesmen. Not true. Bullshit is everywhere. Bullshit is rampant. Parents are full of shit. Teachers are full of shit. Clergymen are full of shit. Law enforcement people are full of shit. The entire country is completely full of shit. In fact, this country was founded by a group of slave owners who told us that all men are created equal. That is what's known as being stunningly full of shit. And you know, I think, people show their ignorance when they say they want politicians to be honest. What are these people talking about? If honesty were suddenly introduced into politics, it would throw everything off. The whole system would collapse. And I think deep down the American people know that. The American people like their bullshit out front, where they can get a good, strong whiff of it. That's why they re-elected Clinton. Listen, Clinton might be full of shit, but he lets you know it. Dole tried to hide it. I'm an honest man. Bullshit. Bullshit. People don't believe that shit. Clinton said, "Hi, I'm full of shit, and how do you like that?" And the people said, "At least he's honest. At least he's honest about being full of shit." It's like the business world. All businessmen are completely full of shit. Just the worst kind of people you could ever want to run into. Businessmen. And the proof of it is, they don't even trust each other. They don't trust each other. When a businessman is negotiating a deal, the first thing he does is to automatically assume that the other guy is a complete lying prick who's trying to fuck him on the deal. So he has to do everything he can to fuck the other guy a little bit harder and a little bit faster. And then, when it comes to dealing with customers, that's when you get the big smile. That's when you get the big smile. Businessman always has that big smile on his face as he carefully positions himself directly behind the customer and unzips his pants and services the account. We specialize in customer service. You heard that? Now you know what it means. Whoever coined the phrase, "let the buyer beware," was probably bleeding from the asshole. Advertising sells you things you don't need and can't afford that are overpriced and don't work. And they do it by exploiting your fears and insecurities. And if you don't have any, they'll be glad to give you a few by showing you a nice picture of a woman with big tits. That's the essence of advertising. Big tits. Threateningly big tits. And speaking of big tits, what about show business? Show business, completely dishonest, corrupt, and full of shit, but in a nice way. Plenty of expensive drugs and perverted sex. If you're going to be full of shit, might as well enjoy your work. Then you have the media. Not just the news media, let's include them all. The media are almost literally exploding with bullshit because they're located right at the crossroads of all the other bullshit. The media are made up of equal parts advertising, politics, business, public relations, and show business. These people are sitting right at bullshit junction. There's enough bullshit in the media for Texas to open a branch office. And you still have enough left over to start 2 law firms and a Christian bookstore. Because folks, I gotta tell you, when it comes to bullshit, truly major league bullshit, you have to stand back in awe of the all-time heavyweight champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. Organized religion. It's no contest. Religion easily has the best bullshit story of all time. Think about it. Religion has convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a list of 10 specific things he doesn't want you to do. And if you do any of these things, he will send you to a special place of burning and fire and smoke and torture and anguish for you to live forever and suffer and burn and scream until the end of time. But he loves you. He loves you. He loves you, and he needs money. He always needs money. He's all-powerful, all-present, all-knowing, and all-wise. Just can't handle money. Religion takes in billions and billions of dollars. They pay no taxes, and somehow they always need money. You talk about a good bullshit story. If I may be permitted a small pun, holy shit. Holy shit.
I began a sentence a little while ago with it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise that rich white men don't care about poor black people, period. So they're not high on their list. They're not high on their list.
George,
They're
I love you, George,
They're not,
but that's
I don't
nonsense.
care if you love me or not.
That's
They're
nonsense.
not high on the conscious or the subconscious list of those people who are in charge of things in this country. The owners, forget these foolish elections, the owners of this country don't care about the poor in general.
The owners of this country, what are we going... is this Karl Marx talking to me? The owners of this country are the voters of this country.
You're wrong about that, my friend.
Aren't the owners of this country the voters in this country who elected George Bush?
No, they're not. Listen, politics, these elections are a charade. It is a charade.
Oh, okay.
It is, they are meant to... Well, I'll tell you, listen, just listen for a minute. Learn a little something. The elections and politicians are in place in order to give Americans the illusion that they have freedom of choice. You don't really have choice in this country.
Well, and let me ask you this about the looting. Would you agree that there was two kinds of looting? That there was the kind where people were desperate because they were starving and maybe were taking food out of a store, and then there were some people who were taking stereo equipment.
Yeah.
Would you agree that there was two kinds of looting?
Yeah, people were walking away with television sets.
Would you agree that there was those
that.
two kinds of looting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then is it not wrong for the president to issue an ultimatum that there was zero tolerance and thereby encourage his right-wing flacks in the liberal media to go ahead and say this gives us license to suggest that we shoot people on sight, as if in the middle of this crisis where so many people are dying already, what we need to do is shoot Tyrone because he's getting out of Circuit City with some soggy tweeters. And I think Tyrone always had soggy tweeters, quite frankly.
I have an addendum to that. The real looting in this country takes place in the transfer of the wealth from the poor to the rich. I'm sorry that you don't like class and the truth, my friend, but you're just stuck with it. Class and the poor have been systematically looted in this country. The rich have been made richer under this criminal, fascist president and his government.
You know, George, I think do you know what fascism is?
Fascism,
you know what fascism
when it comes
is?
to America,
You know what Nazis are?
No, wait, sir, wait, sir. When fascism comes to America, it will not be in brown and black shirts. It will not be with jack boots. It will be Nike sneakers and smiley shirts. Smiley. The fascism... Germany lost the Second World War. Fascism won it. Believe me, my friend.
Fascism is when corporations become the government.
Yes.
And that's sort of what we have. And poverty has gone up
So
17.
Let me get this straight. George, you think that looting is looting okay if there's no hurricane?
First of all, property.
Can you break into tweeters whenever you want?
We're talking
I
about
have no problem with theft. May I be honest
No
with
problem
you?
with
I have no problem with theft. It's true.
But wait a sec. We're talking looting. We're not saying, you know, this reminds me of the O.J. situation. It wasn't that O.J. was innocent. We all knew he killed his wife. Okay? It's not that looting is good. We all know looting is bad. It's the priorities. It's the fact that white people obsessed on one black guy getting away with a crime once when it had worked in reverse 1 billion times more. The same way they're obsessing about a few people getting away in the middle of this much bigger crisis. It's a matter of what's proportional. I think that's what we're saying about looting. No one is defending looting. Well, when you say, I don't care what that is always what these kind of commentators say. I don't care what their race is, as if things were even to begin with. Bill O'Reilly and his ilk are saying things like, you know what? If you just would have gotten an education, you wouldn't be in this situation. As if it's easy to get an education in situations where there's so much segregation.
Bill, I completely agree with you on that.
I would have been out here a little bit sooner, but they gave me the wrong dressing room, and I couldn't find any place to put my stuff. And I don't know how you are, but I need a place to put my stuff. So that's what I've been doing back there, just trying to find a place for my stuff. You know how important that is. That's the whole meaning of life, isn't it? Trying to find a place for your stuff. That's all your house is. Your house is just a place for your stuff. If you didn't have so much goddamn stuff, you wouldn't need a house. You could just walk around all the time. That's all your house is. It's a pile of stuff with a cover on it. You see that when you take off in an airplane and you look down and you see everybody's got a little pile of stuff. Everybody's got their own pile of stuff. And when you leave your stuff, you gotta lock it up. Wouldn't want somebody to come by and take some of your stuff. They always take the good stuff. They don't bother with that crap you're saving. Ain't nobody interested in your 4th grade arithmetic papers. They're looking for the good stuff. That's all your house is. It's a place to keep your stuff while you go out and get more stuff. Now, sometimes you've got to move. You got to get a bigger house. Why? Too much stuff. You've got to move all your stuff. And maybe put some of your stuff in storage. Now imagine that. There's a whole industry based on keeping an eye on your stuff. Enough about your stuff. Let's talk about other people's stuff. Did you ever notice when you go to somebody else's house, you never quite feel 100% at home? You know why? No room for your stuff. Somebody else's stuff is all over the place. And what awful stuff it is. Where did they get this stuff? And if you have to stay overnight at someone's house, you know, unexpectedly, and they give you a little room to sleep in that they don't use that often, someone died in it 11 years ago, and they haven't moved any of his stuff. Or wherever they give you to sleep, usually right near the bed, there's a dresser, and there's never any room on the dresser for your stuff. Someone else's shit is on the dresser. Have you noticed that their stuff is shit, and your shit is stuff? Now, sometimes you go on vacation, you gotta bring some of your stuff with you. You can't bring all your stuff, just the stuff you really like. The stuff that fits you well that month. Let's say you're gonna go to Honolulu. You're gonna go all the way to Honolulu. You gotta take 2 big bags of stuff, plus your carry-on stuff, plus the stuff in your pockets. You get all the way to Honolulu and you get in your hotel room and you start to put away your stuff. That's the first thing you do in a hotel room is put away your stuff. I'll put some stuff in here, put some stuff down there. Here's another place for some stuff here. I'll put some stuff over there. You put your stuff over there. I'm putting my stuff over here. Here's another place for some stuff. Hey, we got more places than we've got stuff. We're gonna have to buy more stuff. Now, and you put all your stuff away, and you know that you're thousands of miles from home, and you don't quite feel at ease, but you know that you must be okay because you do have some of your stuff with you. And you relax in Honolulu on that basis. That's when your friend from Maui calls and says, hey, why don't you come over to Maui for the weekend? Spend a couple of nights over here. Oh, shit, no. Now what stuff do you bring? Right, you've got to bring an even smaller version of your stuff. Just enough stuff for a weekend on Maui. And you get over, and you're really spread out now. You've got shit all over the world. You've got stuff at home, stuff in storage, stuff in Honolulu, stuff in Maui, stuff in your pockets. Supply lines are getting longer and harder to maintain. But you get over to your friend's house in Maui and they give you a little place to sleep and there's a little window ledge or some kind of a small shelf and there's not much room on it, but it's okay because you don't have much stuff now. And you put what stuff you do have up there. You put your imported French toenail clippers, your odor readers with the 45-day guarantee, your cinnamon-flavored dental floss, and your Afrin 12-hour decongestant nasal spray. And even though you're a long way from home, you know that you must be okay because you do have your Afrin 12-hour decongestant nasal spray. And you relax in Maui on that basis. That's when your friend says, hey, I think tonight we'll go over the other side of the island, stay at my friend's house overnight. Oh, shit, no. No! What do you bring? Now you just bring the things you know you're gonna need. Money, keys, comb, wallet, lighter, hanky, pen, cigarettes, contraceptives, Vaseline, whips, chains, whistles, dildos, and a book.
We got lame white motherfuckers. Inauthentic, low-frequency, single-digit, lame white motherfuckers. Especially these male movie stars who think they're blues artists. You ever see these guys? Don't you just want to puke in your soup with one of these fat, balding, overweight, overaged, out-of-shape, middle-aged male movie stars with sunglasses jumps on stage and starts blowing into a harmonica? It's a fucking sacrilege. In the first place, white people got no business playing the blues ever, at all, under any circumstances, ever. What the fuck do white people have to be blue about? Banana Republic ran out of khakis? Huh? The espresso machine is jammed? Hootie and the Blowfish are breaking up? Shit, white people ought to understand their job is to give people the blues, not to get them. And certainly not to sing or play them. Tell you a little secret about the blues. It's not enough to know which notes to play. You gotta know why they need to be played. And another thing, I don't think white people should be trying to dance like blacks. Stop that! Stick to your faggoty polkas and waltzes. And that repulsive country line dancing shit that you do. And be yourself, be proud, be white, be lame, and get the fuck off the dance floor. Now, I thank you. Now, listen. Long as we're discussing minorities, I'd like to mention something about language. There are a couple of terms being used a lot these days by guilty white liberals. First one is happens to be. He happens to be black. I have a friend who happens to be black. Like it's a fucking accident, you know? Happens to be black. Yes, he happens to be black. Ah, yeah. He had 2 black parents? Oh, yes, he did. Yes, that's right. And they fucked? Oh, indeed they did. So where does the surprise part come in? I should think it would be more unusual if he just happened to be Scandinavian. And the other term is openly gay. They'll say, he's openly gay. But that's the only minority they use that for. You know, you wouldn't say someone was openly black. Well, maybe James Brown. Or Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan is openly black. Colin Powell is not openly black. Colin Powell is openly white. He just happens to be black. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. There are some more people with missing chromosomes who ought to be thrown screaming from a helicopter. Gun enthusiasts, you know? Oh yeah, I'm a gun enthusiast. Oh yeah, well I'm a blowjob enthusiast. You want to see me shoot? Cock this and I'll discharge a load for you. And I'm not against guns. I'm not one of those mindless Hollywood cocksuckers. I'm not against guns. I'm not against bullets. I'm not even against people shooting each other. Shit, shooting somebody's part of the American dream. I don't care who it is. Parents, teachers, kids, fuck them. Let them get shot. Doesn't bother me. But speaking of mindless Hollywood cocksuckers, before Charlton Heston became president of these dickless lunatics in the NRA, they had a different guy. He's still one of their major spokesmen. His name is Wayne LaPierre. What kind of a name for a gun nut is Wayne LaPierre? Doesn't this sound a little fruity to you? Hi, I'm Wayne. I'm a gun person. Bang, bang. You know what this prick's name ought to be? Biff Webster. Spud Crowley, a man's name, Chuck Steak. Rights. Boy, everyone in this country's always running around yammering about their fucking rights. I have a right, you have no right, we have a right, they don't have a right. Folks, I hate to spoil your fun, but there's no such thing as rights, okay? They're imaginary. We made them up, like the boogeyman. The Three Little Pigs, Pinocchio, Mother Goose, shit like that. Rights are an idea. They're just imaginary. They're a cute idea. Cute. But that's all. Cute and fictional. But if you think you do have rights, let me ask you this. Where do they come from? People say, well, they come from God. They're God-given rights. Oh, fuck. Here we go again. Here we go again. The God excuse. The last refuge of a man with no answers and no argument. It came from God. Anything we can't describe must have come from God. Personally, folks, I believe that if your rights came from God, he would have given you the right to some food every day, and he would have given you the right to a roof over your head. God would have been looking out for you. God would have been looking out for you. You know that? He wouldn't have been worried about making sure you have a gun so you can get drunk on Sunday night and kill your girlfriend's parents. But let's say it's true. Let's say God gave us these rights. Why would he give us a certain number of rights? The Bill of Rights in this country has 10 stipulations, okay? 10 rights. And apparently God was doing sloppy work that week because we've had to amend the Bill of Rights an additional 17 times. So God forgot a couple of things like slavery. Just fucking slipped his mind. But let's say God gave us the original 10. He gave the British 13. The British Bill of Rights has 13 stipulations. The Germans have 29. The Belgians have 25. The Swedish have only 6. And some people in the world have no rights at all. What kind of a fucking goddamn God-given deal is that? No rights at all? Why would God give different people in different countries different numbers of different rights? Boredom? Amusement? Bad arithmetic? Do we find out at long last after all this time that God is weak in math skills? Doesn't sound like divine planning to me. Sounds more like human planning. Sounds more like one group trying to control another group. In other words, business as usual in America. Now, if you think you do have rights, one last assignment for you. Next time you're at the computer, get on the internet, go to Wikipedia. When you get to Wikipedia, in the search field for Wikipedia, I want you to type in Japanese Americans 1942, and you'll find out all about your precious fucking rights, okay? All right. You know about it. You know about it. Yeah. In 1942, there were 110,000 Japanese American citizens and good standing, law-abiding people who were thrown into internment camps simply because their parents were born in the wrong country. That's all they did wrong. They had no right to a lawyer, no right to a fair trial, no right to a jury of their peers, no right to due process of any kind. The only right they had, right this way, into the internment camps. Just when these American citizens needed their rights the most, their government took them away. And rights aren't rights if someone can take them away. They're privileges. That's all we've ever had in this country is a bill of temporary privileges. And if you read the news even badly, you know that every year the list gets shorter and shorter and shorter. You see how sooner? Yeah.
Sooner or later, the people in this country are going to realize the government does not give a fuck about them. Government doesn't care about you or your children or your rights or your welfare or your safety. It simply doesn't give a fuck about you. It's interested in its own power. That's the only thing, keeping it and expanding it wherever possible. Personally, when it comes to rights, I think one of two things is true. I think either we have unlimited rights or we have no rights at all. Personally, I lean toward unlimited rights. I feel, for instance, I have the right to do anything I please. But if I do something you don't like, I think you have the right to kill me. So where are you going to find a fairer fucking deal than that? So the next time some asshole says, gee, I have a right to my opinion, you say, oh yeah? Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion. Then shoot the fuck and walk away.
And of course, the country is founded on the double standard. That's our history. We were founded on a very basic double standard. This country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Am I right? A group of slave owners who wanted to be free. So they killed a lot of white English people in order to continue owning their black African people so they could wipe out the rest of the red Indian people and move west and steal the rest of the land from the brown Mexican people, giving them a place to take off and drop their nuclear weapons on the yellow Japanese people. You know what the motto? You know what the motto of this country ought to be? You give us a color, we'll wipe it out. You got it. So anyway, about 80 years after the Constitution is ratified, 80 years later, the slaves are freed. Not so you'd really notice it, of course. Just sort of on paper. And that was, of course, during the Civil War. Now there's another phrase I dearly love. That is a true oxymoron if I've ever heard one. Civil War. Do you think any country could really have a civil war? Say, pardon me. I'm awfully sorry. I'm awfully sorry.
Not important to get children to read. Children who want to read are going to read. Kids who want to learn to read are going to learn to read. Much more important to teach children to question what they read. Children should be taught to question everything. To question everything they read, everything they hear. Children should be taught to question authority. Parents never teach their children to question authority because parents are authority figures themselves, and they don't want to undermine their own bullshit inside the household. So they stroke the kid, and the kid strokes them, and they all stroke each other, and they all grow up all fucked up, and they come to shows like this. Kids have to be warned that there's bullshit coming down the road. That's the biggest thing you can do for a kid. Tell them what life in this country is about. It's about a whole lot of bullshit that needs to be detected and avoided. That's the best thing you can do. No one told me. No one told me a thing like that. I was never warned about any of this. I had to find all of it out for myself. And there are still, as with you probably, a lot of things that you're expected to believe and accept in America that I personally have a problem with, and I question a lot of these things. Give you an example. I saw a slogan on the guy's car that said, proud to be an American. And I thought, well, what the fuck does that mean? Proud to be an American. You see, I've never understood national pride. I've never understood ethnic pride. Because I'm Irish, and all four of my grandparents were born in Ireland, so I'm fully Irish. And when I was a kid, I would go to the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I noticed that they sold a button that said, proud to be Irish. And I could never understand that because I knew that on Columbus Day, they sold a different button that said, proud to be Italian. Then came Black Pride and Puerto Rican pride. And I could never understand ethnic or national pride. Because to me, pride should be reserved for something you achieve or attain on your own, not something that happens by accident of birth. Being Irish... Being Irish isn't a skill. It's a fucking genetic accident. You wouldn't say, I'm proud to be 5'11". I'm proud to have a predisposition for colon cancer. So why the fuck would you be proud to be Irish or proud to be Italian or American or anything? If you're happy with it, that's fine. Do that. Put that on your car. Happy to be an American. Be happy. Don't be proud. Too much pride as it is. Pride goeth before a fall. Never forget Proverbs, okay? Now, here's another slogan. Here's another slogan you run into all the time. God bless America.
Once again, respectfully, I say to myself, what the fuck does that mean? God bless America? Is that a request? Is that a demand? Is that a suggestion? Politicians say it at the end of every speech, as if it were some sort of verbal tic that they can't get rid of. God bless you and God bless America. God bless you and God bless America. I guess they figure if they leave it out, someone's going to think they're bad Americans. Let me tell you a little secret about God, folks. God does not give a flying fuck about America, okay? He doesn't care. He never cared about this country. He never has. He never will. He doesn't care about this country any more than he cares about Mongolia, Transylvania, Pittsburgh, the Suez Canal, or the North Pole. He simply doesn't care, okay? He doesn't care. Listen, hey, there are 200 countries in the world now. Do these people honestly think that God is sitting around picking out his favorites? Why would he do that? Why would God have a favorite country? And why would it be America out of all the countries? Because we have the most money? Because he likes our national anthem? Maybe it's because he heard we have 18 delicious flavors of classic rice-a-roni. It's delusional thinking. It's delusional thinking, and Americans are not alone with these sort of delusions. Military cemeteries around the world are packed with brainwashed, dead soldiers who are convinced God was on their side. America prays for God to destroy our enemies. Our enemies pray for God to destroy us. Somebody's going to be disappointed. Somebody's wasting their fucking time. Could it be everyone? Yeah.
How you doing? Thank you. How you doing? Hey, nice to see you. Listen, I'm here to exploit this war. I'm here to exploit this war. War is good for business. Just take a look at the stock market, so I'm here to exploit it just like everybody else in this country. Best thing about this war, it's on every channel. And every channel has a slightly different war. Did you notice that? If you don't like the way it's going on Channel 2, try Channel 9. Maybe your side is winning over there. And the ratings are good. The ratings are good for the war. We like war. We're good at it. We're a warlike people. This country is only 200 years old, and we average a major war every 20 years. 200 years old, 10 wars. Do the arithmetic yourself. We are a warlike people. We are perfect children of Europe. We're fort builders, land grabbers, and bomb throwers, folks. We're not happy. We're not happy unless we're dropping bombs on some helpless civilian population that has no argument with us whatsoever. No argument with us whatsoever. We are bomb throwers. And when we're not dropping high explosives, on some small nation that only has a marginally effective air force, then we're declaring war on something at home. We love to declare war on something at home, don't we? Anything we don't like about ourselves, we have to declare war on it. We can't get rid of this war mentality from our public life. We got a war on poverty, war on crime, war on cancer, war on litter, war on drugs. Did you ever notice we don't have a war on homelessness? No war on homelessness. You know why? You know why? I'll tell you why, because there's no money in it. There's no money in that problem. Nobody stands to get rich off of that problem. You find a solution to homelessness where the businessmen and the politicians can steal a couple of $1 million each, you'll see the streets of America begin to clear up pretty fast. I'll give you a couple ideas. Listen, I got a couple ideas for homelessness. First thing we ought to do, give the homeless their own magazine. Give them their own magazine. That's a sure sign of making it in this country. Every group in this country that makes it gets its own magazine. They got Working Mother magazine, Black Entrepreneur magazine, Hispanic Business magazine. Any activity engaged in by more than 4 people in this country gets a magazine devoted to it. Dart throwing, backpacking, basket making, boating, hiking, walking. Walking! There's actually a magazine called Walking! Look, Dan, the new Walking is out. Here's a good article, putting one foot in front of the other. Give them their own magazine. You know? Come on. Give them their own magazine. You know what you call it? Better Crates and Cartons. Then when they get finished reading it, they can use it to line their clothing. Well, that's the kind of answer you'd get from a conservative American businessman. He'd say, yeah, let them read it. When they get finished reading it, they can use it to plug up the holes in them piano crates they live in. A good, practical, sound American business conservative solution. I'll give you an idea about homelessness. First thing you got to do is change the name. It's not homelessness. It's houselessness. These people need houses. A home is an abstract idea. It has to do with a setting, a state of mind. These people need physical, tangible structures. Low-cost housing. But where are you going to put it? Nobody wants you to build low-cost housing near their house. They don't want it near them. We got a thing in this country called NIMBY. N-I-M-B-Y. Not in my backyard. That's what they call it. People don't want anything near them, especially if it might help somebody else. They don't want any kind of social help located near them. You try to open up a halfway house. You try to open up a drug rehab center. You try to open up a little place for some retarded people who want to work their way into the community. People say, not in my backyard. They don't want it near them, especially if it might help somebody else. It's part of the great American spirit of generosity. You can ask the American Indians all about the great American spirit of generosity. If you need current information, try a black family. They'll help you figure out the great American generous spirit. These days we call it 1,000 points of light. People don't want anything near them, even if it's something they believe in, something they think society needs, like prisons. Everybody wants more prisons. Everybody wants that. That's the new answer to all of our problems. Lock a lot of people up. People say, build more prisons, but not here. Well, why not? What's the problem? What would be wrong with having a prison in your neighborhood? Would seem to me like it would make it a pretty crime-free area, don't you think? You think a lot of crackheads and pimps and street criminals are going to be hanging around in front of a prison? No way, they're gone. What's wrong with these people? I mean, all the prisoners are locked up, the criminals are behind the walls, and if a couple of them do break out, what do you think they're going to do? Hang around? Check real estate? No way. They're gone. The whole idea of breaking out of prison is to get as far away as you possibly can. Not in my backyard. Well, I got an idea where we can put some low-cost housing. Golf courses. This is just what we need. Golf courses. Plenty of good land. Plenty of good land in nice neighborhoods, land that's devoted now to a meaningless, mindless activity engaged in primarily by white, well-to-do male businessmen who use the game to make deals to get together to carve the country up a little finer among themselves. Golf is an arrogant, elitist game, and it takes up entirely too much room in this country. Entirely too much room. Listen to me. You know how much room it takes up? 17,000 golf courses, about 150 acres each. That's 3 million acres. That's 4,800 square miles. 2 Rhode Islands and a Delaware. You could build for the homeless on the land that's currently devoted to this meaningless, mindless, arrogant, elitist, racist game. Racist game. Racist game. I say it's time to reclaim that valuable land from the wealthy and turn it over to the homeless. You see, I have solutions. You know the only problem? No one ever calls. Rarely get a call from Congress or a think tank. Thank you all for listening. Good night. I'll see you later.
Here's another pack of low-grade morons who ought to be locked into portable toilets and set on fire. These people with bumper stickers that say, "We are the proud parents of an honor student at the Franklin School." You know? Or the Midvale Academy, or whatever other innocent-sounding name has been assigned to the indoctrination center where their child has been sent to be stripped of his individuality and turned into an obedient, soul-dead, conformist member of the American consumer culture. Proud parents. What kind of empty people need to validate themselves through the achievements of their children? How'd you like to have to live with a couple of these misfits? How's that science project coming along, Justin? Fuck you, Dad. You simple-minded prick. Mind your own business and pass the Cheerios. Here's a bumper sticker I'd like to see. We are the proud parents of a child whose self-esteem is sufficient that he doesn't need us promoting his minor scholastic achievements on the back of our car. That would be so good. Or we are the proud parents of a child who has resisted his teacher's attempts to break his spirit and bend him to the will of his corporate masters. Just be nice a little for change, you know?
Have you here.
Thank you. This is the best news show ever. I told that to one of your producers, and I want you to know that. I've seen them all, and it's just, especially the first 35 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
It's just unparalleled.
I got bad news. Between you and I, we got 6 minutes to completely screw that into the ground.
Okay,
right?
that's good.
Dumbledore,
yes.
Jerry Falwell,
Yeah.
Tinky Winky. I'm missing something on why gay, non-existent characters are so important.
Don't these professional Christians have something to do during the day? I mean, isn't there? Didn't Jesus leave instructions how to plan your day? Something constructive? Didn't he kind of help people? Didn't he, look out for the afflicted? To use half of A.J. Liebling's quote, to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable to complete it. It just seems that they get off on these tangents, you know. And of course, the homosexuality and the reading of science fiction, such as the Bible, and giving it the standard of truth. I mean, it would be cartoonish if it weren't, dangerous to some people.
All right, and leading people to establish theocracies and go to war and all the rest of that.
Yes, yeah, and instilling guilt and shame and fear in people.
There's a Republican poll out that says that Stephen Colbert is 5th among Democrats. They surveyed 1,000 people who, I don't know, like Republicans or whatever the polling was. But is there a period of time, have we gotten there? Because Mencken predicted that eventually we'd actually elect the dumbest guy in America. Are we going to someday elect a satirical president, a guy who really has no intention of having he's doing it as a sales tool for something else?
Well, we're working on it. I mean, we did elect something of that nature in 2000 and 2004, if you want to look at it from a long distance. If you're up close, it may not be that. I was around in 1960 when Professor Irwin Corey ran for president. And I was around in 1968 when Pat Paulson ran for president. And I think Larry Flint had a go at it there. For a while. It's why is he the 5th among Democrats? Doesn't he play a Republican on television?
Yeah, apparently he comes in 10th or 11th down there with Tom Tancredo. He's only got like 1% of the Republican, because he is, as Bob and Ray once posited, was the best way to try to get elected, run for both the Democratic and Republican nominations. You have 2 chances.
He's just a wonderful comic relief, and I hope he goes far, and I hope he can get a couple of primary states under his belt.
We really upset this thing. The reverse of Colbert, I want to play you this clip. It's Senator Arlen Specter and a story that he says his colleague's father used to tell. Play this thing.
Dan's mother and I have sex almost every night. We almost have sex on Monday. We almost have sex on Tuesday.
It was as odd as it is to see a Republican senator, even a fairly liberal one from Pennsylvania, standing there at the Improv.
Yes.
Is there something positive about this? Because, if Nelson Rockefeller had made that joke 40 years ago, not only would he have been out of the presidential race, he would have had to resign as governor of New York. Just anything that touchy. Is it better that we're letting these guys get up and have fun?
I liked Rockefeller because he gave the finger to the Republican convention, the conservatives in 1964, and then he died in the saddle, which I thought was a nice thing for the Republic. Of course, he had his screw you money off and put away a long time before.
Yeah.
I think that's a great joke that Specter told. I was waiting for Phil Specter. I wasn't sure. Either Specter might have been okay for me.
Yeah, well, Phil is no longer involved in the government. Well, not directly, anyway.
No.
Now he's being pursued by the government.
Right.
I mentioned Bob and Ray. Those were my heroes when I was a kid. At the height of Watergate, I got to interview them, and I said, why don't you do, because they'd gone after McCarthy in a limited way, but a very effective way. So why didn't you do more political humor? And Ray Goulding said, how could we make that funnier?
Yeah.
Do you feel that way about President Bush?
Well, I use the sledgehammer. I don't bother with the rapier on Bush. And I don't really do a lot of political humor, but I have some glancing blows in the current show that I'm developing. And one of them is the reference to him as Governor Bush and the fact that I will always think of him, no matter where they hang his portrait, no matter where they put his statue. That's what he is. He's Governor Bush, because that's the last elected office he held legally in this country. So I like moving in and really hurting them.
Yeah.
I don't like this, let's be cute and let's be clever. I like smashing them. That's the only way to take care of them.
The other day, and speaking of smashing things, I quoted in this newscast, first item in the newscast, the seven words you can't say on television, the story of them, and the fact that everybody forgets that the first part of that story is the guy who had his phone tapped and would answer the phone, bleep Hoover.
Yeah.
We're back there. How did we get back to the same position that we were when you made that joke originally in the 70s?
You're talking about wiretapping and spying on people. Yeah. Well, I don't know that we ever really left. I don't think that Frank Church committee really did any good. I don't think all of these reforms. I think power does what it wants. Power does what it wants, and now they're just more naked about it. Now they just put it right out front and say, "This is what we're doing to you folks." It's this country's finished. It's been sliding downhill a long time. And everybody's got a cell phone that makes pancakes, so they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to make any trouble. People have been bought off by gizmos and toys in this country, and no one questions things anymore. Seriously, that's what I love about your show. I mean, you bring the thing right to them, and that's the only way to do it.
If you do, as you know, if you got the platform and you're not doing something with it, you might as well have a trained monkey out here. So, The one and only George Carlin. The retrospective is called George Carlin, All My Stuff, on DVD. Go buy it. A pleasure having you here, sir.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
That's Countdown for this, the 1,637th day since the declaration of mission accomplished in Iraq. Our coverage continues next with MSNBC Live with Dan Abrams. From New York, I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find unusual, and it's not a criticism so much, but his targets are underdogs. And comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs. And, he ought to be careful because he's Jewish. And a lot of the people who want to pick on these kind of groups, the Jews are on that list a little further. You got women, gays, gypsies, blah, 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 and then suddenly you find Jews. And Andrew,
suddenly Andrew's arrested.
Yeah, so, obviously he should do what he wants. And
why does he get away with it, do you think, then?
Well,
we have never laughed at jokes about the poor.
He's appealing. I think he's appealing largely. I think his core audience are young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure their manhood because that's a problem when you're going through adolescence. Am I really? Could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs and the
so that's why we as an audience then will laugh.
You say we. I don't think you're.
But I think you're collective we.
I think that's what is at the core of that experience that takes place in these arenas. Is a certain, a sharing of anger and rage at these targets. And I'm sure Andrew isn't that angry at them. I'm sure he's playing it as a comic.